everybody. This is Beth Worsdell, author, and I'm joining Tiffany Killoren today for Writer's Rock. Hi, Tiffany.
Hi, how are you?
I am good. I'm good. I've got to say, every time I see you or a photograph of you on Facebook and that, you always look like you've just walked down a model runway.
Oh gosh, well, thank you. That's very sweet of you to say. Full disclosure, I just had a hair appointment today, so this was scheduled well.
You always look absolutely fabulous. Before we go any further, Tiffany, I'm just going to quickly share us with the Writers Rock group and the Writers Rock Readers group, if that's all right.
Absolutely.
So bear with me 1 second.
Oh.
Hopefully, eventually, they'll let me do this before we go live. Oh, there we go. I can see us. We are live streaming. We are there. Right, let me just quickly share that. Bear with me. So everybody can join us. Group, Writers Rock, post. And my Labrador is trying to give me her ball again. Honestly, I could never be an animal trainer, I don't think I'd have the patience for it. Right? Okay, and share on there. There we go. Post. Right, I believe I've shared everywhere. I'm getting quicker and quicker at doing that.
Very good at this, yes.
Oh, so sorry, I'm streaming here. I'm still having hot flushes, I'm afraid. My viewers know what it's like. So how have you been?
Good. I've been good. I'm a little shocked it's July. It feels like with the world going on, everything should still be back in March, but I'm good. I'm hanging in there.
It's crazy, isn't it? I would have thought that with the pandemic and everything else and so many of us being stuck at home, it would feel like it would be dragging. But it actually isn't, is it? I mean, time just seems to be flying past just as quick.
It really does. Time is it's flying by so much, and with just, lots of family time, the whole homeschooling thing, the work balance stuff, the new puppy. There's a lot going on here. It's quiet at the moment. It does not stay that way.
Now, you absolutely amaze me, Tiffany, because you're a lady of many hats to start off with. I mean, an attorney, magazine writer and editor. You've got 2 boys at home.
Yeah.
How on earth? And you've not long just released another book. How do you fit it all in?
Well, thank you for saying that, by the way. It's very sweet. I have a lot of balls in the air, and I try to give the illusion that I balanced all of them, but you know how it is. It's just kind of an appearance sometimes. The attorney thing, I practiced law for 15 years. I joke that nobody should decide they want to be a lawyer at 18, but I did. So that was just kind of the train that I jumped on, and I had a really great life with that. I learned so many things. Being a lawyer teaches you so many things that have helped me be a better writer. One of the most crucial being you have to have a really thick skin to be a writer. You have to, be able to assert yourself. You have to put yourself out there. Even if you don't have confidence, you kind of have to fake that you do sometimes. Yeah. And so I almost found that being a lawyer helped. I had no intention on being a writer. I did not. This is as big of a shock to me as kind of anybody. But I was a lawyer for 15 years, and then I started writing on maternity leave with my first son. He's 13 now. And I had a really hard time going from such a cerebral environment to literally overnight this physical and emotional one. Yeah. And I decided one night, I can remember when he was this newborn sleeping, I grabbed my laptop and I told my husband, I'm going to write about the day he was born. I want to always remember it. I want him to know. And what I found when I was writing it is it was funny. because nothing went as planned, nothing. And I literally kept writing. I kept writing in this manuscript true stories about my own life for him to read someday. And I was working as a lawyer. I was doing that for fun. And I wrote for 2.5 years. And the last story was about the day my second son was born.
Oh.
And so I have this manuscript here for them to read someday. And it brought me so much joy that a light bulb went off. And I kind of thought, is this what I'm supposed to be doing? Am I supposed to be writing? And from then on, I looked for opportunities. I kind of, in hindsight, laugh at some of the emails that I wrote that I was completely unqualified to even, like magazine writers that really shouldn't have talked to me. But here I am writing an email going, I should write for you. And that's kind of the beauty of it, right? You have to just put yourself out there, and sometimes it worked and sometimes it didn't. And that kind of sum up writing all by itself.
It's just fantastic. And as you said, part of writing is putting yourself out there,
right,
having the confidence to give it a go, because let's face it, life is far too short. None of us know what's around the corner. And for you to do it at such an important time of your life where you're literally, having your children is fantastic. I've got to tell you, I'm not sure I would have been able to do it because I've got 4 kids. I was an emotional hormonal wreck.
Oh yeah. I mean, and I was an emotional, and I think actually part of it was kind of emotion based, because having a child, it's one thing to just kind of, live life on your own and you're making decisions and you're in your 20s and you're doing this and that and seeing what works. But when I became a mom, I felt this need to live a very honest and authentic life, like to live a life, the type of life that I would want to, model for him. And that became really important to me and is kind of what drove me to continue writing, because I always thought, I was getting the feeling that being a lawyer isn't what I was supposed to be doing in life. It was fine, but it wasn't bringing me the joy I wanted. And I always thought, now Max is my son. I thought, what if he calls me when he's 22 in college and he goes, Mom, I hate my major. I hate it. I don't want to do this. What would I say? I mean, the very last thing that I would ever say to him is, well, stick it out, buddy. Like, no, change it now. Figure it out and find what you're passionate about. And so I kind of felt, how could I ever give that advice if I'm not living that life?
Yeah. I absolutely agree. And I think it's super important that, our children and our siblings and our family members understand that it's never too late to change direction and do something a bit different, isn't there? I mean, I never planned on my path. When I left school, all I wanted to do was go in the Air Force. Unfortunately, I was medically discharged and I was completely lost. What do I do now?
Yeah.
But you're right. It does show a very, very good example to other people. Now, I think it's amazing that you had the confidence to actually approach magazines and say, I'm here, I can do this. Now, I mean, that takes some confidence, and I think that's absolutely fantastic. Sorry, look, dog's trying to give me balls again.
Oh, well, hey, there we go. He just wants to play.
70 pounds, he just wants to play. How much, how successful were you? I mean, sort of percentage wise, I mean, was it like 50% of them responded or?
So, confidence is a sweet word. Crazy, completely out. I mean, that is probably more of what I would have said, because I was very fortunate. because I believe in serendipity and just people coming into your life when they're supposed to.
Yeah.
And making the most of those connections and trying to kind of figure out what the universe is trying to tell us. And there was a magazine in Kansas City where I live that was called M. It was the magazine for moms. And it was a parenting magazine. And I read the magazine, and I was the readership, right? I was the target audience. I was a mom with kids, and I just decided to look up the publisher, and I wrote an email that said, I should be writing for you. I have no qualifications whatsoever to do so, but I am your reader. Like, I'm who you are trying to target.
Yeah.
And the publisher sent it to the editor, who emailed me. And I think I think I got a couple points for guts, maybe. But she wanted to meet for lunch. And so we met for lunch, and had I known before lunch who she really was before I went, I would have been completely beside myself, because she was actually the fashion editor for Jane magazine in New York for years.
Oh my gosh.
And
that's absolutely amazing.
Yeah, she was from Kansas City, but she moved to New York. She had this amazing, like, just, you know, she lived in France and all of this. And she came back to her roots, and she was the editor of this magazine. And so accomplished doesn't even, you know, begin to kind of describe her. But she basically said, I'll give you a shot. And she assigned me my first story. And I wrote for that magazine freelance while I was an attorney, until, like, for years. And then I, through those connections, met other editors. And then what I realized was that combining kind of my skill set as an attorney, I can research well. The writing is a different kind of tone, but I loved to just kind of find the right tone for stories. And I also have this, I don't know if it's a blessing or a curse, that I can kind of just talk to anybody, and I have no problem cold calling people. And so I ended up writing freelance for a lifestyle magazine in Kansas City that she would call on me to do her meat and potatoes pieces. Very hardcore pieces, like medical marijuana controversy, the lethal injection drug controversy, the transgender community in Kansas City. I did a forensic assault article. It was, and I would call doctors. I would go in and do these interviews, and I loved it. I absolutely loved those pieces.
It must have been absolutely amazing, because not only do you get, you know, I would imagine, get to do your view on these topics, but they're also very big social issues, aren't they, that you're writing about?
Yes.
I think that's absolutely amazing, especially because you're opening people's eyes as well to what's going on.
Yes.
Do you think that your article writing, as well as your career as an attorney, helped with your book, with both books?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think being an attorney provided me like I said, more of like the confidence, the thick skin, the ability to kind of present myself in a way that you have to kind of be a strong person to make it in the writing world. Yeah. The article writing gave me the opportunity to actually find my voice, what my writing is like. Legal writing is so incredibly different that I found I found my own voice when I was doing magazine articles. And there was one particular story there were a couple stories that I wrote that just stuck with me. And they were not, they were ones that she assigned to me that I had to take a big breath and go, oh my gosh. And one of which was, kind of the opiate epidemic. and having to go and interview a family that lost their child to this. And then having to figure out a way to write that in a way that was respectful, but informative, and that had readers want. My goal in everything I write, whether it be a magazine article, a book, anything, is that by the time that somebody's done reading the first paragraph, they want to read the whole thing.
Yeah.
And I think as a writer, if you don't get them there, you won't. It doesn't matter if the middle of the book is fantastic.
Yeah. If
they don't get there.
Yeah, I absolutely agree.
Yeah.
We got a couple of comments here. We got Starla who's joined us. Hi, Starla. There you go. Look, she lives in Kansas as well. She says,
"Hi, Starla."
She says, "How cool." Bless her. And my daughter's just come to my rescue because she's just put all my dogs.
Hi, Starla. Thank you.
Bless her. And we've got Sanjay here as well. Hi, Sanjay. Thank you for joining us, darling.
Hi, Sanjay.
That is so cool. I love being able to show all these comments. It's absolutely fantastic. So,
oh my gosh, this is so fun. Yeah.
Now your first book, 6 weeks in Petrograd.
Mm-hmm.
Is that right? Do you happen to have a copy so we can have a look?
Yeah. Do you want me to go run and get one?
Well, if you
want me to run and get one?
Yeah, if you can, that would be fantastic. Okay.
So quick. Okay.
You're like Speedy Gonzalez.
So, it was like, I am right here. I'm just, there we go. So this is 6 weeks in Petrograd. I love how, I coordinated the color of the flowers with the book. I'm behind me.
Love it. And that's a Russian, is that a Russian doll on the front?
It is a nesting doll. Yes.
Nesting doll.
So it's a Russian nesting doll.
That is
called a matryoshka.
That is so cool. So what inspired you for your debut book?
Okay, so I really did not think that I was creative enough to write fiction. I really didn't. I thought I'm only going to be able to write what I know. So I was encouraged to try. And they often say your first novel is somewhat autobiographical. And I think in my case, that's true because I took things that I knew very well and put them in a fictional context.
Right.
So the protagonist in 6 weeks in Petrograd was a young attorney who was struggling. She was struggling. She didn't quite know if that's what she's supposed to do in life. She got assigned a work trip in St. Petersburg, Russia. Well, Russian was one of my undergrad majors, and I studied there. So I could write about the streets in St. Petersburg and the smells and the magic that I felt there with the onion dome cathedrals because I had seen it.
Yeah.
And I needed to tell snippets of my real world experiences and just kind of, I thought, well, then I'm just going to write a fictional story. And it was about this young girl who decided that being an attorney wasn't the path that she was supposed to be on. And she happened to find that in St. Petersburg. And, St. Petersburg has had a number of names over the years, but I loved Petrograd. I mean, it's kind of a nod to whole Peter the Great and the history.
Yeah.
So that was my first novel. It was a very small publisher in 2013 that came out. I was really just kind of thrilled that a third party thought I wrote well enough to put it in a book.
Well, absolutely.
That was my standard. Yeah. So that was my first novel. And then I realized after writing that one, as all writers know, it's such a difficult industry because finding an agent is important to get published, but you have to get published before you find an agent. It's all very cyclical. It can get very frustrating.
Yes.
And I, in between then, wrote for years. I had a number of manuscripts done. And I, again, kind of one of those cold emails, cold calls that you have to have the confidence to make. I discovered a literary agent in Kansas City, and I just wrote her an email, and it was kind of another one of those, we should have coffee. I'll buy. And then I signed with her. And then that's how goodwill and that's how I came to be where I am right now.
That's absolutely fantastic. It really, really is absolutely fantastic. Again, it comes down to, having the confidence to just go for it, isn't it? We've got some more comments here. So I'm going to quickly show them. Sanjay says he's here again. Thank you, darling. Okay. He's becoming a regular, and he actually lives in the UK. We actually became friends in South Carolina, and then Sanjay and his beautiful family ended up moving back to the UK. Sanjay wants to know what's in my Coke. I'm not advertising, honestly. It's just Coke. There's no Bacardi or anything in there, unfortunately. But I've got to drive later. Wanda says she wants to know too. So it is just Coke, I promise. If there was anything else in there, it'd be in a glass. Because
there you go.
I'm quite classy like that.
I actually considered, I was like, hey, it's like 5 o'clock here. I thought, do I bring a cocktail? I don't know. That would have been nice.
If I wasn't going to have to drive later, I would have quite happily joined you, Tiffany.
We can do it again. We'll have a happy hour.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy. My eyes are streaming from laughing. Now, I'm still amazed that you managed to do everything. So, and as you said, juggling it all. As an author, obviously, apart from the writing side, because we obviously know that you love that, because otherwise you wouldn't carry on. What do you enjoy most? I mean, do you enjoy the research side of it, the promotion and marketing side of it? I mean, what do you find is the most fun for you?
Oh gosh, the promotion and marketing, probably not. I think that's so hard. I think it's so hard. I've always said, I've told people that writing the book is the easy part for me.
Yeah.
Everything that comes after, I think, is really, really difficult. And I think it's getting more and more difficult for authors as everything is changing and things are going to ebook. And then they're like, it's, there are so many different, I've learned so much of the business side of it, that it's hard, because I feel so fortunate to be where I am, but yet so sad that there's so many great writers out there that stories will never be told because it is so hard. I just happen to I think just have doors open for me at the right time.
Yeah.
And even then it can be, I was talking to my literary agent this week. It's tough. I mean, it's tough. And I said, Author Central on Amazon, I have to stay away from. You don't look at your numbers. Don't look at I joke, I can always tell when my mom's buying more copies. Whoop, there's a spike. But it's so tough. And I think what I enjoy more than anything, and I'm not like that textbook writer. I don't do it how you're supposed to do it. I don't outline. I don't do any of that stuff. I like to sit down and see where the characters take me.
Yeah.
And because sometimes I realize I'll change a character because I get to know them a little bit more. And we'll maybe go on a different path than what I had thought initially. And I don't like the idea of an outline and being kind of wedded to this idea, because I simply don't know sometimes where the book's going to go.
Yeah.
That is fun for me. And I like to interject humor into my stories. And my favorite thing to write is dialogue, because I like to just write it like I'm speaking with, my girlfriends or my family. I can write dialogue very easily. It's what I enjoy. And I can be a bit sarcastic in real life. And so a lot of my characters will have that in there. And there's a time or two I probably cracked myself up writing. I look like a crazy person on the laptop laughing to herself. To me, that's fun. That's the most fun part.
I've got to say, I think that's one of the areas where some of our authors within the Writers Rock group maybe struggle a little bit, because they forget to write dialogue how people actually talk. Right. So it's too sort of stilted and more like the rest of the body of the story, instead of just being real people and list. Because I don't know about you, but I'm an avid people watcher. I love watching people. I love watching their body language, their facial expressions when they're talking, if they're really animated. Right. And I think things like that are so important to interject, as well as real speech.
Exactly. And it can be really hard.
Yeah.
And something that was actually hard for me is to, not every character is me. I have to be mindful of how that character would talk. Yeah. And I am not a big cusser, but some of my characters are probably, just the way that I write them, it probably is going to make sense that they are a little bit. And so I have to get comfortable writing that part of their speech, because that makes them more real. But it is kind of, you have to make sure that you are writing. It's not enough to just develop a character. You bring them to life when they speak. Yeah. And you can do so much with character relationships based on their dialogue together, much more so than you can just a narrative. So, and I think it's a really great way for readers to feel connected, because we all probably read those books, and it's through the dialogue is when we decide if we want to sit down with that character for a cup of coffee, right? There's some characters that I'm like, of books that I was like, oh, I'd love to have a drink with that person. They're
go out to a club.
And it's based on their interaction, and so it's a very valuable thing to know how to do when you're writing. And people just need to kind of maybe loosen up a little bit and play it in your head first, and then just write down what they say.
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, that makes absolute sense to me. It completely does. Now, you're in a bit of a unique situation, and we were having a little quick chat before we came live, because you released, when did you release book one?
So 6 Weeks in Petrograd was back in 2013. And then I wrote a lot of magazine stuff in between.
Right. And obviously you've just had your second release.
Yes.
Just before the pandemic all happened and everything chaotic occurred. How has that affected what you can possibly do with, your marketing and everything else? Have you completely adjusted how you're trying to promote and share your, actually show your second book, because you've got it there, haven't you? Goodwill.
I do. There it is.
Look at that beauty.
I love the cover. They did a great job with the cover. It's kind of like almost a fence post, like fencing, and I was kind of adamant with the book. I didn't want anybody's face on it. People have different views. I didn't want to tell the readers what the characters look like. Yes. I want them to feel what those characters look like. And so I wanted a very simple, I gave the publisher a lot of ideas kind of about different covers that I liked, and they're very simple. But for your question, social media has helped a lot. This would be obviously 100 times harder if we didn't have social media. Oh yeah. Social media is just the best free marketing you can ever do. there are, you know, like the fun celebratory things I haven't been able to do. You know, the book launch party was, I think, scheduled for like the week after quarantine started. Like, I mean, so that obviously you can't do. I've had book signings that have gotten canceled, local author events. There's a couple that are just kind of starting to come back. But by and large, like, you know, there's not a lot of people are very careful about going out these days. I don't know if we're at the point where people are going to be comfortable with signings right now. And so I've had to adjust and really put myself out there on social.
Yeah.
And I have done that. And then I have had to just kind of come to terms with the fact that there are certain things that are worth paying for. And I rely a lot on my agent and publisher to guide me to more of the reputable sites. But I like reviews are huge, right? And you need them. That's Amazon's algorithm will give you more exposure based on the number of reviews that you have. Absolutely. And so like Reader's Favorite is a site that I went to, and I went ahead and did their 2-week turnaround for reviews. I found that completely worth the time. They wrote such a thoughtful review.
Oh,
it was kind of, you know, and it's something that once you then get that reputable review, you can then use that for additional marketing. Yes. Entering the book into contests is important. The biggest thing that I'm probably the most disappointed about was I was supposed to go to the Big Book Expo in New York. Oh, and that was my publisher was going to send me. I was going with my agent. I was so excited to have a table there and to have giveaways and signings and just to be in the presence of the whole, you know, Simon and Schuster and the HarperCollins. Like, I mean, it would have been amazing.
Yeah.
That was a really tough pill to swallow. That was probably the biggest disappointment for me. But I keep telling myself, hopefully I can go next year, and that the book, I will have become really comfortable with the marketing, that it's not brand new. It's out there now. Hopefully I can just keep, you know, hopefully getting recognized with contests and things like that. That will make me even more marketable when that comes. But I might have cried a little bit. About that one.
It is so frustrating, isn't it? I absolutely feel for you, because I've been in the sort of same boat, really. I busy working on book 3. Unfortunately, there was a huge delay because I went and broke my ankle, as everybody knows. But the thing is, when you've got readers that are waiting for your next book, even though it is in the midst of the pandemic, you don't want to let all those people down.
Right.
It's like a catch-22 situation, isn't it?
Right. It really is.
But out of all the social media platforms, which one would you say has been the most productive for you and the easiest to use?
I like Instagram. Because I'm such a visual person, and I like trying to get creative with the photos. Yeah. I have, so I kind of start there. I start with Instagram, and then I will share those posts automatically on Facebook and Twitter. So I'm not redoing them. I'm just sharing them. I have relied on friends who have guided me a little bit on my page, who have told me, okay, we know the cover of your book. You have to be in some of the pictures. It's not comfortable, but those types of things, I do kind of rely on people who know what they're doing a little bit more to kind of tell me, okay, I guess I have to be in 1 or 2. It's hard as a writer to have social media because people have to follow you solely to support you and what you're doing. Yeah. There's all of these other social media things, and I have friends that are involved in all these amazing things. That's fashion blogging or you know, Poshmark or things like that. they will have tens of thousands of followers.
Yeah.
Because they're selling these fantastic things that people want to see what they're doing. As a writer, that's just not the way it works. And
no,
the most important thing is not to compare yourself to kind of those other types of pages, because if people are following me, they're following me and this. And I am thankful for every single one, but it is tough. And I try to post a couple times a week. You have to kind of be, regular when you're doing it. And I think Twitter, I have had a lot of, kind of like shares, or Twitter is probably my least favorite, but I think it's a very effective. I think it's just very effective. I don't like that I'm confined to only a certain number of, like, I'm a writer. Don't tell me I can't use my words. Like, I think that's just kind of why I shy a little bit away from Twitter. I'll just share everything up there. But at the same time, I think people engage more in Twitter sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a tough balance, isn't it? Because I found, for me, Twitter just is too fast. I get tagged with something, and by the time I actually see it, there's like 50 odd comments that I have to try and go through to find out where it starts. I find it very hard to navigate with Twitter.
Yeah.
I do share on there, and I do retweet a lot. Yeah. But I don't really engage in conversations because they move too fast for me to find where I should join in.
Exactly.
But also, I think, sorry, I'm getting a numb bum here. I think people are a lot quicker to be quite negative on Twitter, and that puts me off.
I do too.
That puts me off.
I do too.
I'm like you. I want to be Miss Positive. I want to be encouraging people, and and being all sweetness and light.
Yep.
There are too many negative people on there that just want to.
Yeah, there's just that, even though it's not completely anonymous, people feel like it is, like, right, there's safety behind the screen. I do, and I never really thought about that. That might be why I think Instagram's more of like a fun, I don't know. Like, I mean, I kind of stay clear of a lot of the controversial stuff, and like, I go for a reason, right? I try to post very positive, colorful, bright things, because that's just kind of what I want to put out there. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And the one thing that some of our readers and viewers and authors might not realize is that if you have a page or something and you post something that's really sad or makes people angry or whatever, and they're doing lots of sad faces and negative responses, it actually puts off Facebook from sharing that.
Yeah.
It really does. It's an algorithm. So the more negative, if you post anything negative on there, Facebook are trying to hide that away, or Instagram or whatever. So I never share anything negative, political, anything socially, anything that's going to enrage anybody, basically, because you're always going to upset somebody else.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I talked to my husband about it. Oh, do we have a comment?
We do.
No?
Starla's asking a question.
Oh, okay.
She says, have you published other books?
So I have those two out right now, the 6 Weeks in Petrograd and Goodwill. I have 3 other manuscripts done. Wow. And so I have talked to my agent about which one do we go with next, because they're 3 very different books, and kind of going towards the kind of the keeping things positive and all of that in the world. When it came time to decide about Goodwill, we went with Goodwill because it was a positive book. And at the time, and even more so now, we felt like the world was a negative place. Yeah. And I said, I want to put something positive out there. And so that was really why we decided to pitch that one first. But I think people would be surprised at how long it takes. Because I was thinking of the time frame, so 6 Weeks in Petrograd came out in 2013. I signed with my agent in 2016. I signed with the publisher in 2018, and it came to print this year.
Crikey.
So it takes a long time. And so even though my book just came out, we have to start thinking about pitching another now.
Yeah.
Because that one could take 2 years. And I think people are surprised kind of about that. It's a long journey.
That's the thing, isn't it? I mean,
yeah.
For new authors, I think it's good information because, nothing happens overnight. Whether you're self-published or you're going through an agent and a publishing house, these things do take time to build, and all the legwork and all the, it all takes time. And I think it's very, very rare that a book is published quick and it just explodes on the market. It's just one in millions, isn't it? Yeah,
it really is. It really is.
Now, Goodwill,
and people shouldn't feel discouraged. Yes.
Goodwill is very different, isn't it, to your first book? I mean, I was having a little read and everything, and it seems a lot more to do with the connection between women and friends and, life journeys. Mm-hmm. What inspired you for the book, Goodwill?
So it definitely is different than 6 Weeks in Petrograd, but I think the common theme is trying to figure out your life's purpose and adapting to the crossroads that we all face in life and those pivotal moments where we have to decide which way we're going. That is kind of a common theme through my books. And I think, my protagonist in 6 Weeks in Petrograd, because I was so much younger when I wrote it, was more in the, stage where Goodwill is a little bit more representative of where I am in my life now, where I've had those bumps in the road that how to handle and navigate. And so there's kind of a common thread there. I think my women in Goodwill would love to sit down with the protagonist in 6 Weeks in Petrograd and help her. That's probably, they should all get together. I kind of going back to serendipity, that's really what Goodwill is about. And I loved the thought of these 4 women all of whom are facing a life that is not the one they thought they were going to have. And what do you do with that? And you can either curl up and just be resentful or sad, or you can pick yourself up and figure out what that new life is supposed to be. And so I thought, how do I I wanted there to be some subtle twists. And so the title, all of my titles, I kind of like to have titles that have different meanings. And so Goodwill, a lot of us think of the store, I think of the thrift store. And that plays a role in the book because the main girl, there's 4 women. It's Lily, Beth, Celeste, and Mallory. And the book opens to Lily having to return from a very posh lifestyle in New York to her humble town in Iowa that she never thought she'd have to return to. And she, at one point in the book, goes to the local thrift store with the boxes of things that she no longer needs. That was a life that she just didn't have anymore. And it was about her giving those up. And the other women in the book all come in contact with something that she gave up, and their lives all intersect.
That is such a cool concept.
Yeah. And so I kind of just loved the thought of what I did in this book was really, I had people related, but you didn't know about it until halfway in the book. That all of a sudden a character that you read about popped up at somebody's house and you had no idea that was her mom. That type of thing. And so I kind of, these 4 women are from different generations. They're from different backgrounds, and they all have an impact on each other's lives by the end. But then goodwill, I also kind of love as just the thought of putting goodwill out into the universe as more of a kind of just the energy that we should all have.
I think that's absolutely fantastic.
Are you still there?
I'm still here. I know. I'm just going to quickly apologise. We were talking about this before we came live. I think just because everybody's at home using the internet, the stream
no worries.
They're quite as good as it normally would be, but
no worries.
Your story is absolutely amazing, and I really feel like your journey has been for a reason. You know, you really seem to have been able to pour so much of your own life experiences and adventures into your books, which I think is fantastic. And I love the concept of goodwill, because many women like us have gone on a life diversion, and you know, we've had children, and me, I had more children than I thought I was going to have. I never planned on having 4. You know, and things like that, and career changes that weren't planned, anything else. So I think your characters are women that most women can relate to, which I think is phenomenal, because I think, you know, it's important to have that connection and see a bright side of life.
Right. You know, and I always describe my characters as beautifully flawed, because because I really, like, we're all flawed. It's just kind of what you do with that. And it took me a long time, but I mean, I feel like I'm living a very authentic life right now. And that's all I can ask of myself. You know, if the books sell, that's fantastic, but I can't say that I didn't give it my all at the end of the day. And I think that's where I want all of my characters to end up too. Yeah.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you. I'm so thrilled that you've been able to join me today. It's absolutely fantastic.
Oh my God, this is so fun.
I just want to let everybody know, because obviously some people are watching us live, and then others will be watching later on when they get home from work and what have you. If any of you want to ask Tiffany questions, please put them in the comments, either now or when you watch it later on. Just make sure that you tag Tiffany so that she can see them.
Yes, please. I love questions. Absolutely.
Exactly. So we've got authors and readers alike, which is absolutely fantastic. And I've made sure to share all of Tiffany's links in the comments attached to the video. So all her links are there, social media and Amazon, Goodreads, you name it, it's all there. I'm so excited for you. I really hope this pandemic is over soon for both of us.
I know.
It's so frustrating. But as you said, I mean, for the authors that are watching, it is a great opportunity to really get stuck into social media, isn't it? As you said, you know, sharing lots, being positive.
Yep. And if there's one nugget that I have learned that I feel like because every writer's journey is their own, but the one thing that I think is really, really important is just self-marketing and self-promotion is not comfortable. It's just necessary.
Yeah.
And you find your own way of doing it, it'll be fine, but you have to. Because the saddest thing is a book out there that people don't know about. And so,
absolutely.
Yeah, I feel like authors are very supportive of other authors. And if you have a book out there, you would be shocked at how open places are to helping you. If it's local coffee shops, we have a local coffee shop here who has devoted a corner of the upstairs to local authors. And she only carries local authors' books. You can buy them there. She is just a huge supporter of local authors. And you would be shocked at the number of people who really are. You just have to ask. Yeah. And asking can be uncomfortable, but I think you will be pleasantly surprised at the people who are willing to extend a kind of a helping hand.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I think it's one of those things, isn't it? If you don't ask, you're not going to get.
Right.
And what's yeah. What's the worst? They can only say no, but they could say.
They can only say no. They can only say no, and nobody knows your book better than you. So market it.
Absolutely. And I do know quite a few authors, because they're so uncomfortable doing self-promotion, they actually have like an alias or a page or profile dedicated just to promoting themselves with a completely different name and everything else, just so they have that anonymity.
Yeah,
because it makes them feel more comfortable. So that I think there's always options, isn't there?
There's always options. And a trick that I have when I will do some things, not on social, but like if there's any other press things, I only talk about myself in the third person. Yeah. I pretend like somebody else is writing it. That for some reason makes me feel better. Like if it's, I never write a bio saying I live in whatever. It's Tiffany Killoren lives in, because it just makes me feel a little bit distanced from it, and it makes me a little bit more comfortable. So that's also kind of a little trick that I always do for bios, press releases, anything.
Yeah, that's a good tip, actually, I think, because then, as you said, it gives you that little bit of distance, and you keep a little bit of armor.
It keeps a little bit of armor. I mean, we're all like, writers are not known as being extroverts for the most part. So we kind of have to learn how to do that. Yeah.
And pretend we have a thick skin.
Pretend like you have a thick skin. And, when I was like soliciting publishers on my own before I had an agent, you also just have to have a sense of humor, because I can remember getting one on my laptop and reading the rejection out loud to my husband and just laughing, because I was like, oh, I got another one today. But when I was getting them in, I said, you know what? I haven't gotten a single rejection that has told me I can't write. And so once you realize as an author, those literary, like the publishing houses, they have criteria, and that particular agent's looking for this, and this. And if you don't fit it, it's not that your book's not amazing. It just doesn't work for them. Yeah. And you have to understand that. And because every single author out there has a pile of rejections. It's just part of the game.
Yeah, absolutely. Even the most famous people, some of them have taken 10 years to get their first book published, and others even longer than that.
Right. I remember reading an article, it made me laugh out loud, from the author of The Help, which was made into a, major motion picture. Oh my gosh. When she was writing publishers trying to get that book published, they were brutal. Like, they were telling her she shouldn't be writing. This is not her thing. And I read that and I was like, okay, at least nobody's told me that. And she still persevered. She still believed in herself. So this isn't easy for anybody. And I think people probably have to keep that in mind.
Yeah, absolutely. Tiffany, thank you so much for such a fun chat and your honesty. I love the fact that you're just so down to earth and you're so wonderful. I have thoroughly enjoyed talking to you.
Well, same here. This was so fun. I'm so glad this worked. And honestly, like, let's do it again. Like maybe a happy hour.
I love that. Cocktails all round. I love it. Tiffany, thank you so much, darling.
Thank you.
As I said, anybody can write comments in questions now, or if you come and watch it later on, that would be absolutely fabulous. I'll be sharing this wonderful interview with Tiffany on the Writers Rock website, the groups, and also YouTube and Instagram. Now I figured out how to do it.
All right. Fantastic. I'm excited.
Thank you so much, darling. And I can't wait to chat to you again, my darling.
Okay, sounds good.
Bye, my darling. Thank you, everyone, for watching.
Thanks, bye. Guys.